Shalom again. I wanted to talk today about a mitzvah that is known but not so known, and I'm talking today about Shmitat Ksafim, Prozbul, and Nedivei Eretz. I'll try to go over the mitzvah in most topics, most discussions, not halacha lemaaseh, but just to go over the things, not in details, all of the complicated halachot and the discussions, and at the end to give our Machon Torah Ve'eretz, our initiative, which is called Nedivei Eretz, which I think has a very important meaning in our lifestyle today, a way to take this mitzvah, which is not so kept by many people, or kept in a very I would say problematic way, and to try to give it the original meaning, but that we'll do in a minute. Just before that, I just want to tell you that we are doing Shemitah tours in the Institute during the summer in the next 3 weeks. Let's share this. Here it is. We're doing Shemitah tours in the Institute. Shemitah tours we're having 3 days, one next week, 26th of July, 1st of August, then 10th of August. And it's for families with kids in Shaveh Darom in our Machon. We have a presentation about Shemitah, Kahoot, and a tour of Shemitah net houses, and a grapevine, and tasting Tushat Shvit grapes, and etrogim, and other things. Nice activity, about 2.5 hours. For families, so whoever wants on our website can go in. It's the first thing appears, Shemitah Tours, and all the information is down here, how to register, etc. So it's all there, whoever wants. Okay. Shmitat Ksafim, let's start. Just to make sure, Betzalel, tell me, can you see the presentation? Betzalel, can you see it? Now, can you see the next one? The Shemitah tour flyer?
I see the Shmitat Ksafim now.
Just a minute. Okay. Now Shmitat Ksafim. Now, can you see me going down to the flyer of Shemitah tours?
Yeah, now I see it.
Okay, let's start. Mitzvot, we have many mitzvot that care for the poor, mitzvot for the poor people. We have tzedakah, of course, leket, shichecha, and peah, gemilut chasadim, loans, giving loans, halva'ah, maaser ksafim, giving 1/10 of what we earn to poor people, and maaser ani, all some apply today rabbinic, some apply today Torah. Maaser Ksafim apply today rabbinic only, Maaser Ani as well. And of course, Tzedakah, Gemilut Chasadim, and loans today is as well Torah. And we have our mitzvah of Shmitat Ksafim. We have, let's skip this. Let's see Shmitat Ksafim, and let's a bit try to explain what the Torah wants us to do. Let's skip this. Let's see the psukim. Okay. Miketz Sheva Shanim Ta'aseh Shmita. Excuse me?
Okay.
Okay.
So you made it. Okay. Bye.
Judy, please mute your phone.
Okay. Betzalel, if you can mute everyone. Thank you. Okay. פרשת דברים, ספר דברים, פרשת מקץ 7 שנים תעשה שמיטה. At the end of 7 years, you will do shmita. וזה דבר השמיטה, שמות כל בעל משה ידו אשר ישה ברעהו, לא יגוס את רעהו ואת אחיו, כי קרא שמיטה על השם. This is what shmita means. You do shmita for whoever owns you money. לא יגוס את רעהו, meaning if he still owes you, you cannot come to him and say, bring me back the money, כי קרא שמיטה על השם. את הנוכרי תיגוס, the נוכרי you can come to him and say, hey, give me back the loan, ואשר יהיה לך את אחיך, meaning the Jews, תשמט ידיך. You're supposed to forgive him the loan. He doesn't have to pay you. ישמר לך, the Torah says, the very known psukim. פן יהיה דבר עם לבבך בליעה לאמור, you be careful that you won't even think. What? קרבה שנת השבע, שנת השמיטה, וראה עינך באחיך האביון ולא תיתן לו. וקרא עליך אל השם והיה בך חטא. נתון תיתן לו ולא ירא לבבך בתתך לו, כי בגלל הדבר הזה יברכך השם אלוקיך בכל מעשיך ובכל משלח ידיך. A person can say, just a minute. If I know that at the end of Shemitah, a loan that I gave other people, they don't have to give me back because of Shemitah Ksafim, that's the mitzvah. So once I come close to Shemitah or to the end of Shemitah, I won't give him loans. Why not? Because I know there's a big chance that he won't pay me back before the end of Shemitah. And if he won't do it, so halachically, he doesn't have to pay me afterwards. So the Torah knows that what people will say, and it says specifically, give him. Give him, and Hashem will bless you because of this. Now, all of the poskim say, this is much more than giving a loan. And it's even more complicated than giving tzedakah. When you give tzedakah, you know, I give him tzedakah. I have X amount of money that I decided that I can, in my budget, give others. And I give it to others, I give it to needy people. I know it goes there, doesn't come back. When you give a loan, it's a different kind of calculation. You say, I have some money, I have some money now, but I need this money. So I'm giving it in a loan, but he needs it now, but you know, I relied it, and I need it in a month, in half a year, in a year. That's loan, that's another mitzvah to give loans. Here we're somewhere in the middle, meaning the Torah tells us you should give loans even if you know there is a chance that they won't pay you back because it's towards the end of Shemitah. Now, this is much more complicated. Tzedakah it's easier to give because you're giving. To give a loan, you know he's giving it back, but to give a loan that you're not 100% sure he will give you back, it's much more difficult to give tzedakah because it's a different place in your mind and in your heart. It's not money that you say, I'm giving. It's money I'm giving and wanting to get back. So Shmitat Ksafim, already in the Torah, we see that it's difficult. And the Torah tells us, we know that it will be difficult for you. Very similar to Shmitat Karkaot, the regular Shmita. The Torah tells us, you will say, what will I eat in the 7th year? The Torah understood, she knew that Shemitah would be problematic, that people will say, hey, if we don't plant any new vegetables, what will we eat? If it's not ours, if it's hefker, if everybody can take it, we will make a living for a year. The Torah understands it, and in the Torah, it tells us, either Shmitat Karkaot, it tells us that I will give you a blessing on the 6th year, and you will have enough for 2 or 3 years. And we ask ourselves today, okay, and what happens if this blessing, we don't see it? There's no Bet Mikdash, so we don't have the blessing of Etzivitit Bichati Lachem. So what do we do then? First big challenge. Here in Shmitat Ksafim, it's a similar challenge. The Torah doesn't tell us he will give it back to you. The Torah tells us, if you won't give him a loan, you will sin. So what's the solution? We don't know. Give him a loan and either trust God or calculate it that you know maybe he won't give it back to you. Meaning the Torah tells us when you give a loan, especially when we're going towards Shemitah or towards the end of Shemitah, the Torah doesn't tell us that you will get the loan. She tells us, okay, you will get a blessing because of this mitzvah. But will I get the money back? Maybe yes, maybe no. Doesn't say so. Many poskim combine between Shmitat Ksafim and Shmitat Karkaot. Why? Because they say, let's think 2,000 years ago. You have Shemitah, and the poor people, it's even more that don't have a lot of reserves, a lot of money extra. Shemitah is very difficult for them because they can't work their land, etc. So this is the time that they need more loans than usual. So, and what can happen? At the end of Shemitah, these poor people didn't work for a year, and they took loans. So now next year, they're starting in a big minus, let's say, because of the regular Shemitah, and because they took loans and they couldn't pay them back, so they go down. They have starting the new cycle of 7 years in a very problematic way. So the Torah tells us, no, Shmitat Ksafim comes together with Shmitat Karkaot. It's one, we have to look at it as a whole together. When we have Shmitat Karkaot, so you do Shmitat Ksafim at the end of the year. So next year, even the poor people will start from zero. They won't have, let's say, to take loans and to sell their land, maybe, or because of Shmitat Karkaot for 1 year, so now for 7 years, there will be a big minus. No. Even if they have a minus, even if they need money, even if they took loans, you will give them loans, but at the end of the year, you won't have to pay you back. So next year, they will start from zero. You load the money, you have, Baruch Hashem, probably you have more. You can do even without this money that you gave them, you can do without it. But they, without this, they will start from, they will go into a deep hole that it will take them years and years to get out of. And that's the basic concept of Shmitat Ksafim, which I have to say, today, we have similar situation, but not, we have families. That's what I had before. I want to show you here. There's a lot of statistics that poor people have poor children, because poor people, they live in places that the schools are on a lower level, what's called Ishivyon B'chinuch. Education is not the same level, and then they don't succeed so much. And then when they get jobs, when they're older, so they get the minimum wage jobs, and then the families and their children are in the same cycle. And you have on the right side that you see the more the woman, the green is the mother worked, studied till 8 years, and then the light blue is 9 to 12, blue is 13 to 15, meaning first degree, and the dark blue is 16 plus, meaning second degree. So you can see this is the children. The 91% of the kids that their mother had at least a second degree, they finished Bagut. But the kids that their mother didn't do high school, it's only 55%. Meaning we see here the cycle that parents give according to the level of the parents, the kids go on the same cycle. And that's exactly what Shmitat Ksafim wants us to stop. Not to have the cycle going around and around, to stop it. Every 7 years, we start from zero. Next. Shmitat Ksafim will start. So here on the right side, the rich person, the malveh, so he gives money, he lends, and he knows maybe he won't get it back. He remembers that the money comes from Hashem. And the poor person that takes the money after a whole year that he didn't work, and he had to take loans, now he can stop being in the cycle of owing people, and he can start a new life. Rav Shaul Israeli has a big, a long article about Shemitah Malach HaDorot, and he says, what's this? You have Jews that he got money, it's his, he worked for it, and now you are telling him he's obligated to lend money without ribit. So at the end of Shemitah, he says, "Matchil shuv ma'alach ha'avoda v'yitzira shel ha'am kulo." We start again the cycle of working of the whole nation. במצב אשר לכל אחד כמעט אותם האמצעים, that in a situation that almost everyone have almost the same not money, but I would say אמצעים, tools to start with. הרי לנו המצווה מבחינת בן אדם לחברו, הדס המצווה בן אדם לחברו, and the Torah gives us a method of how building a society that all of the modern generations, they talk how communism, capitalism, socialism, so the Torah gives us a way through it. Rav Kook has something similar. Okay, let's keep on. 3 mitzvot we have connected to Shmitat Ksafim. The first mitzvah, ספר החינוך, תע"ז, להשמיט את כל ההלוואות בשביעית, שמות כל בעל משעדו. All the loans that you have at the end of Shemitah, להשמיט, meaning saying, להשמיט meaning, להשמיט is like to leave, you don't have to pay me back. That's the first mitzvah. A positive mitzvah, mitzvah taseh. Second mitzvah, the same parasha, שלא נימנע מלהלוות לעני מפני השמיטה, that we won't, מצוות לא תעשה, not that we won't avoid lending money to poor people because of Shemitah, exactly what the psukim that we talked about said. And the third mitzvah, says ספר החינוך, לא לתבוע חוב שעברה עליו שביעית, לא יגוס את רעהו. Meaning, if somebody owes you money, not to come after Shemitah, not to come and say, hey, you have to pay me back. This is similar to the first one, it's what I said. So the mitzvah lashmit, and there's a lot I said not to come and say, pay me back the money. So Shmitat Ksafim is we have 3 mitzvot from the Torah connected to this aspect that we're talking about again in 2 months. It's mamash coming. Does Shmitat Ksafim apply today or not? We know that according to almost all poskim, Shmitat Karkaot, Shmita, the land, doesn't apply today Torah, only rabbinic. Why? Because we don't have Beit Mikdash, and because most of the Jews in the world do not live in Eretz Israel. And even if most of the Jews will live here, we're not living according to the Nachalot, each Shevet in its place. So today, according to almost all poskim, Shemitah doesn't apply from the Torah, only b'derabbanan. What about Shmitat Ksafim? Shmitat Ksafim, it's not connected to the land directly. It's tzedakah, milut chasadim, no, it's not connected to the land. That's from the one point of view. From the other point of view, as we explained before, the basic concept of Shmitat Ksafim comes together with Shmitat Karkaot when the poor people have extra problems because of the Shemitah year. So at the end, we have Shmitat Ksafim. So today, when Shmitat Karkaot is not biblical, what about Shmitat Ksafim? So of course, there's a machloket. Chachamim say Shmitat Shmitat Ksafim is deoraita, but Amar Abaye b'shvit b'zman hazeh v'Rebbi hi detanya. Rabbi אומר, וזה דבר השמיטה שמות, this is a pasuk about שמיטת כספים, בשתי שמיטות הכתוב לדבר, אחת שמיטת קרקע, ואחת שמיטת כספים. We have 2 שמיטות that the pasuk talks about, and combines them together, וזה דבר השמיטה, שמות. שמיטה and שמיטה are together. What does this mean? Says Rabbi, בזמן שאתה משמט קרקע, אתה משמט כספים. בזמן שאי אתה משמט קרקע, אי אתה משמט כספים. Meaning, in the time that you're obligated to do shmita of your land, so you're obligated to do shmitat כספים. In the time that you don't have an obligation to do shmita of the land, you don't have to do shmitat כספים. Meaning, the mitzvah today is not from the Torah. The Rambam says, אין שמיטת כספים נוהגת מן התורה, אלא בזמן שהיובל נוהג, only when there's יובל, שיש שם שמיטת קרקע, שהרי ישוב הקרקע לבעלה ולא כסף, ודבר זה קבלה הוא. אוקיי, אמרו חכמים, בזמן שאתה משמט קרקע, אתה משמיט כספים, meaning, the Rambam says, שמיטת כספים doesn't apply today from the Torah. Does it apply מדרבנן? We'll see in a minute. What about חוץ לארץ? I live in Manhattan. Of course, I don't have the mitzvah of shmitat karkaot. In the time of the temple, when shmitat karka was mideoraita, and I lived abroad, did I have a biblical obligation of shmitat ksafim? So the Rambam says, בזמן שאתה משמיט קרקע, אתה משמיט כספים בכל מקום, בין בארץ, בין מחוץ לארץ. When שמיטת קרקעות applies from the Torah, so שמיטת כספים applies from the Torah regardless of where you live. Even if you live outside of Israel, you don't have שמיטת קרקעות, but you do have שמיטת כספים. No, so today, ובזמן שאין שם שמיטת קרקע, אין אתה משמיט כספים, בשביט אפילו בארץ. So we see that שמיטת כספים is not a mitzvah תלויה בארץ. Even if it's somehow connected to שמיטת קרקעות, but שמיטת כספים, if it applies today, it applies everywhere. If it doesn't apply today, it doesn't apply anywhere. That's what the Rambam says. And I'm talking here in the middle. There are machloket rishonim about shmitat ksafim today. Some rishonim like the Rosh say shmitat ksafim apply even today mideoraita, because they think Chachamim and Rabbi, Chachamim are in machloket and Rabbi, and we don't pasken like Rabbi but like Chachamim. That Chachamim say there's no connection between shmitat ksafim and karkaot. So according to the Rosh, today shmitat ksafim is deoraita. According to the Ravid, shmitat ksafim doesn't apply at all today, even with the Rabbanan. Shmitat ksafim doesn't apply. He says it's a minhag, maybe minhag chasidut, but it doesn't apply today. Most poskim say that shmitat ksafim does apply, but midrabanan. Very similar to what, of course? Shmitat karkaot. Shmitat karkaot today apply from the Rabbanan, according to most poskim. So shmitat ksafim as well. I'll stay in brackets. The Rema brings that today many people don't go hold according to the Ravid that shmitat ksafim doesn't apply at all today, especially b'chutz la'aretz. So he says the minhag of many people is not to deal with this mitzvah, and that's about Posbul, which we'll discuss in a minute. So the minhag in many places in the past, today I think people do shmitat ksafim. That's, I think most people, even in chutz la'aretz, write a Posbul. They go according to the shita that shmitat ksafim does apply today in the Rabbanan, but there's a shita that doesn't apply at all. Okay. Just one more machloket. The Torah says on the right here when does shmitat ksafim apply? Miketz sheva shanim b'moed shnat hashmita. At the end of the seventh year, that's what the pasuk says. That's what the Ramban says at the end of the year, and most poskim. However, there are some poskim that understand because of the Tosefta that it's the Rosh and I think the Ibn Ezra and the Torah. They explain it that at the beginning of the year, Shmitat Ksafim applies. And Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of Shmita, is the time of Shmitat Ksafim according to the Ibn Ezra and the Rosh. And their method of seeing it is at the beginning of Shmita already we start with all the loans. Not after the poor person has a lot of loans because of Shemitah, then we will remit the loans at the end of Shemitah. But according to the Rosh, he says, no, let's start the Shemitah when the poor person doesn't have any debts and he can start from zero. That's the understanding. There are Chabadnikim and a few other people write a prosbul as well at the beginning of Shemitah, but that's not the main psak. Shulchan Aruch doesn't paskin this, and most poskim today say you should write a prosbul only at the end of this year, at the end of the Shemitah year, but it's an interesting machloket. A third machloket you see on the left, Ha'im didrash ma'aseh Shemitah. Do you need to do anything? Meaning, the most Rishonim say, what do you mean you don't have to say anything? Shemitah, at the end of Shemitah, Rosh Hashanah, of Tafshin Pei Gimel comes in, that's it. Everything is canceled. All of the debts people owe you, that's it. You don't have to do anything. The Yereim, Bala Yereim, one of the Rishonim, and a few others, say no, it's Afkata de Gavra. You have to do something. If you don't say Mashmitani, if you don't say that, it's still he has to pay you back. Meaning, you have to do it. You have to say Mashmitani. And if you didn't do it, you were Mevatel Mitzvat Aseh or Veralot Aseh. But it depends on you. According to most Rishonim, no, it doesn't depend on you even regardless of what you do, Shmitat Ksafim apply. It's very interesting in brackets. A similar machloket we have in Shmita, in Shmitat Karkaot. If I don't do Shmita in my land, I don't allow people to come in. Is it mufkar or not? Is it depends on me? And if I say no, so it's not mufkar, but I'm sinning. But it's if I do it, it's not mufkar, and people are not allowed to come in. Or that's what the Bet Yosef says, or the Mabit says, no, Afkata de Malka, Shemitah comes, that's it. Even if you say no, who asks you? The Torah says it's Shemitah. So other people can go into your land and pick the fruit because it's not yours, the Torah says. So that's the machloket with Shmitat Karkaot. Here the machloket with Shmitat Ksafim. Again, most Rishonim say it's mufkar me'elav, but many people say like the Yereim that you have to do the Shemitah. If somebody comes to you and pays, you have to say meshametani. No, you don't have to pay me back. Okay, now this is things from our book about Shemitah. Consumer's Guide to Shemitah, chapter 28. It's all on our website as well. Again, let's just read a few things. Shmitat Ksafim applies to them in the Rabbanan. That's the main psak. Shmitat Ksafim applies abroad as well. No blessing is said. Shmitat Ksafim at the end of the Shemitah, even though there's a machloket. It is forbidden to avoid loaning money in fear that the loan will be canceled. That's a psukim in the Torah. If one owes money to people who did not sign an prosbul, who are likely to demand their money back anyway. Meaning, I owe my friend money. They didn't do prosbul. Halachically, I don't have to pay them. However, I should make an effort to repay the loan. I should make an effort to repay the loan before Rosh Hashanah. Before Rosh Hashanah, because then I'm still obligated. But if I didn't do it, halachically I don't have to pay him. But Chazal view favorably those who repay their debts canceled during the Shemitah year. Meaning, Chazal say if you pay back the loan that you own somebody else, even if you don't have to pay him, they said Ruach Chachamim Nochaimen. Meaning, if you can pay, so pay. Don't use this in order not to pay. If you're a poor person, you don't have money, okay, that's for you. But if you can pay and you're just making tricks and saying, I forgot to pay you, I'll pay you back next week. In a month, I'll pay you back. In a minute, I'll pay you back once I have money. And oops, Shemitah ended. Then you come and say, that's it. I don't have to pay you. Ruach Chachamim eina nocha himenu. Chachamim do not like somebody that uses Shmitat Ksafim in order not to pay debts that he can pay. Next, when it comes to Shmitat Ksafim, there is no difference between private individuals or public institutions, such as municipality or corporation. Okay, now we have a few kinds of debts. I don't know before. Okay, let's do it quick. Debts due before the end of Shemitah, debts due following the Shemitah, loans without a set date of repayment, and monetary obligations such as payment for food or a salary. Let's see. The halachic principle that Shemitah cancels all loans that can be collected during the Shemitah for the Shemitah. For this reason, the following types of loans are canceled. All debts due before the end of Shemitah, meaning if I gave a loan now to someone and I told him, give it back to me in a month, and in a month he didn't give it back to me and he said, I don't have money, next week, in a month, and then Shemitah came, that's something that is canceled. That's without a definite repayment date. I gave a loan and I told him, okay, give him back when you can. Okay, give him back when you can. Shemitah, at the end of Shemitah, he doesn't have to pay. The following types of debts are canceled. Monetary loans due before the end of Shemitah. In kid loans, such as food products, as item loan from one neighbor to another. People don't know that. I lend a bottle of grape juice from my neighbor, and I didn't pay him back, give him back. Now at the end of Shemitah, I don't have to give him back. People don't think about it. If I lend my neighbor of a bag of milk just before Shemitah, and he comes after Shemitah to give it back to me, I need to tell him, no, you don't have to pay me back. It's Shmitat Ksafim. It's equivalent to money. I lent him something. We will see. It's a nice thing that he will say, no, I know I don't have to pay you back, but I want to. And then you say, okay, I accept. That's a good thing. But halachi, you don't have to. Checking accounts of banks, whether a positive or negative balance, such as overdraft. So theoretically, if you're an overdraft and the bank gave you a loan, at the end of Shemitah, you don't have to pay him back. Checks dated to before Rosh Hashanah of the 8th year. Wages paid at the end of the workday, such as paid to skilled at the end of the work, meaning when you pay, you bring a plumber and you pay him that day. But he said, okay, I won't pay you now, I'll pay you in a few weeks, etc. And then, so it's a loan he gave you, let's say. Buying on credit when the cost of the item purchased is recorded, such as the local grocery store. Let's keep on. Debts that are not canceled. I don't want to get into all the details because we'll see in 10 minutes. It's not so practical for most people because we do prosbul. But just to understand what will happen without prosbul, debts that are not canceled, debts that cannot be collected before the end of Shemitah, such as those due after Shemitah. If I give now a loan and tell him, listen, you have to pay me back by Cheshvan, by October. So when Shemitah comes, I can't collect it yet because the due date didn't come yet. So Shemitah, the debt is not canceled. Again, the debt is canceled only when it's already time that he has to pay me. But if the due date is after the beginning of Shemitah, so the debt is not canceled. Debts credited as a result of a rabbinical court ruling or a debt submitted to a rabbinical court. Okay, that's what Jew to non-Jew. Let's skip it and give it to Levi and Beseder. Practically today, the following loans are not canceled. Salaries are not canceled. Rent for homes, cars, etc. is not canceled. Someone spent money on a friend's behalf and he's supposed to reimburse him, so not. If item is broken, etc. Purchase made in several payments. Tashlumim, credit card, etc. plus 30. Okay. Let's keep on. Prosbul. What's the time? Okay, good. Time for prosbul. Sorry, before that, women. Are women obligated in mitzvah shmitat ksafim? So, yes. And Rav Mordechai Eliyahu said that the husband can write a prosbul in the name of his wife as well. Meaning, if the husband writes a prosbul, it can apply for his wife as well. In our prosbul, we wrote it specifically in brackets that, and all the debts for my wife as well. But women are obligated mitzvah of Shmitat Ksafim. Next, prosbul. This is known, Hillel HaZaken, comes from the Mishnah, and the Gemara says as follows. הלל הזקן שראה את העם שנמנעו מלהלוות זה את זה, ואמרו של מה שכתוב בתורה, אישר לך פן יהיה דבר עם לבך בליעל וגומר. הלל הזקן saw that people are not loaning each other money towards the end of Shemitah. Why? Because nobody wants to lend money when you know you won't get it back. So if you don't lend money, you are sinning in mitzvat lo ta'aseh. What we saw in Sefer HaChinuch of not lending people before the end of Shemitah. So Hillel HaZaken says, okay, but people are ma lasot? They are sinning. They're not lending money because of Shmitat Ksafim. Is this what the Torah wanted? That poor people wouldn't get loans? The Torah wanted to help poor people. But if what happens is people don't give them loans, so that's not the original concept of the Torah. And Hillel HaZaken said, me, that says Chazal, I want to fix it. Something today we don't have the power to do, but he did it. What did he do? Amad ve'etkin prosbul, or prosbul, וזהו גופו של פרוסבול. What's in the prosbul? מוסרני לכם פלוני דיינים שבמקום פלוני. I'm writing you דיינים in a פלוני, in some place, שכל חוב שיש לי אצל פלוני, every debt that פלוני somebody owes to me, שהגבנו כל זמן שירצה, I can collect the debts whenever I want. והדיינים חותמים למטה, either the דיינים זה בית דין, או העדים. And the דיינים and the העדים sign at the bottom of the prosbul, of the star, and that's it. ומי איכא מידי דמדאורייתא משמת שביעית והתקין הלל דלא משמת? Is there such a thing that from the Torah, משמת שביעית, you don't, that's it, the debt is cancelled. Can you have such a thing that the Torah says that this debt is cancelled, and Hillel, Chazal say, no, they are stronger than the Torah? אמר רבי, yes. שביעית בזמן הזה, ורבי היא, ותקינו רבנן ותשמט זכר לשביעית. Rabbi says, we are talking today that Shmit is midirabanan, not mideoraita. Shmitat Ksafim is derabanan, and if Shmitat Ksafim is derabanan, so when Chazal say we have Shmitat Ksafim today, they say it, but only in places that Shmitat Ksafim will help the poor people. But if what we say today that Shmitat Ksafim applies midirabanan, it doesn't help the poor people because nobody wants to lend the money. So we did the takana only when it's relevant. But we allow ourselves to do Shmitat Ksafim midirabanan, but as well to have a prosbul that will be stronger than the Shmitat Ksafim, meaning because they're both the Rabbanan, and Rabbanan did it only the Tishameti Zecher Lashmit, so you're allowed to do it. Shmuel HaZaken says, okay, I hear you. Halachically, I accept the prosbul, but it's ulbena de daine, it's ilbon, it's a disgrace for the dayanim. If I could have, I would cancel it. What's this? The whole concept of the Torah is we go around it. So we write a sign, we have 2 signatures, we do a prosbul, and that's it. The whole mitzvah, we go around it. It's a disgrace to the Torah. It's a disgrace to Chazal, Shmuel said. If I could have, I would be nevatel it. Some people explain, what do you mean if I would be? If the generation would be in the level that we won't need prosbul, I would cancel it. But what can we do? What can we do? The generations then and today are not in such a high level, and so we have prosbul. Another thing, Beit Din Chashuv. The Gemara says, you write a posbul only in a Beit Din of Surah or Beit Din of Nehardea. Not in every Beit Din, but important Batei Dinin. That's what the Gemara says, the discussion about it. Now, we have to understand, if we don't write posbul, so many things, checks, deposits, paying in the grocery store that, you gave money, he writes, and you have to pay. So what? So all the grocery store, all the people that buy the hakafa, so that's it, the beginning of, at the end of Shemitah, that's it. They won't have to pay. Deposits and banks, many things today that halachically, if we won't write posbul, they would be canceled. But in the modern world today, we all understand that this is not as the Torah meant Shmitat Ksafim. The Torah did mean Shmitat Ksafim, that if we have checks or deposits in the bank, so they won't have to give back the deposits. That if I have to pay a plumber and I didn't pay him back, so in Shemitah, at the end of Shemitah came, that's it. I don't have to pay him. That's not what the Torah wanted. So every person has to write a posbul today. That's what the poskim say. Because Shemitah is midrabanan, and every person that has a bank account has to write a posbul. And almost everybody has. Even kids above bar mitzvah, girls above bar mitzvah that have their own bank accounts, each one has to write a posbul. Because if not, halachically, the bank won't have to pay you back. I assume he will, but halachically that, without a posbul, we can't, it can't work without posbul. So as we said, posbul is good only for the debts that the posbul is only for debts that were written before it. Meaning, if you have people owing money to you and you write a posbul and sign, so all these debts are not canceled, let's say given to Beit Din and are not canceled. What happened if I wrote a posbul? I don't know, now I'm writing a posbul. And in next week, I lend a person money, and Shemitah comes. Does the posbul apply for the loans given after I signed it? No. So now we have a problem. So when to write the posbul? If we will write it now, so it's too early. We have still 2 months. So posbul is written only in Chodesh Elul, and usually at the end of Elul, because of the concept of Stam Halva'a 30 Yom, the halacha says, a regular loan is 30 days. So if you write the posbul at the beginning of Elul, so the loans you give after, Stam loans, if you don't say specifically when you have to pay it back, so regular loans are for 30 days. And if you wrote the posbul on Rosh Chodesh Elul and you gave a loan on Bet Elul, when will be the due date? When will people have to pay you back this loan? On Bet Tishrei, after the beginning of Shemitah. So the Shemitah Ksafim won't apply to it. Shemitah Ksafim only applies, as we say, for debts that the time for payment is before Rosh Hashanah. And because of the loans that are regular loans for 30 days, so loans given after Rosh Chodesh Elul, the due date is after beginning of Shemitah. So that's why people write posbul at Elul and not before that. And many people try doing it at the end, the last week. Some people do it mamash be'erev Rosh Hashanah. Okay. Shulchan Aruch says we need a Beit Din Chashuv. ואינו נכתב אלא בבית דין חשוב, דהיינו 3 בקיאים בדין ובעניין פרוזבול ויודעים עניין שמיטה, והם חום רבים עליהם באותה עיר. You can't have only regular rabbis. You need 3 rabbis that know the deal, meaning learn choshen bishpat, shtarot, etc. And they know about prozbul, and they know about shmitat ksafim, and הם חום רבים עליהם באותה עיר. They are known. Many people accepted them as a beidin. Meaning you can't have any beidin, you need the important beidin. The Rema says no, ויש אומרים כותבים פרוס בכל בית דין, every בית דין, even not an important בית דין, ונראה לי יש להקל בזמן הזה, today, that it's only the Rabbanan, etc., you can have even a regular בית דין. אוקיי, שולחן ערוך says, והדיינים או העדים חותמים מלמטה. Okay, let's see how much, okay. One in brackets, ממש short, some poskim say, in order to have prosbul, you have to have land. You have to have land. The person that is, not the lender of the money, the person that lend money for me, he needs to have a karka. It doesn't matter exactly all the details. So the Mishnah says, "En kotfim prosbul ela ala karka." If en lo, mezakeo betoch sadeo kolshu. If the lender that owes me money doesn't have karka, doesn't have land, so I can give him some of mine. So in some prosbulim, part of the text is that I give some karka, some of my land, to the people that owe me money in order that the prosbul will work. I just want to get into the details. Let's see the prosbul. This is our prosbul of Machon HaTorah Ve'aretz. Let's read it together. Summer 572 Schmidt, a prosbul document. And now presents with signatures appear below. This, a person comes and he does it in front of the two Eidim. The two Eidim are signing that this person came to us and told us that we give all of our loans to the Beit Din. Now, you don't even have to take this page and give it to the Beit Din. It's enough that you sign in front of the two Eidim. And our presents with signatures appear below. Me, Hebrew name, son, daughter of, father's name of the surname family, as appeared before, saying to us, acquire from me a complete and absolute acquisition with any implement suitable to acquire land. I took this text from the Eretz Chemda translation, that I bestow a small quantity of land that I possesses to each one of the debtors who are obligated to me and to the debtors of my wife. As we said before, that women are obligated Shmitat Ksafim, but they can give, the husband can do it in their name as well. But if you don't have a husband, you have to do it yourself. And even if you have a husband, you can do it yourself as well. Who do not own land. And we have acquired a complete and absolute acquisition with an implement that this is suitable for the act of acquisition. Okay, that's the first thing. Furthermore, me, son, daughter of my father's name, has told us, serve on my behalf as witnesses that I am transferring every debt owed to me and to my wife in writing and orally to the important rabbinical court of Otzar Haaretz, that's our rabbinical court this Shemitah, headed by the illustrious Dayanim Shlita, Rav Yaakov Ariel, Rabbi Arav Dov Lior, Arav Aaron Butbul, the son-in-law of Rav Ovadia Yosef, Rabbi Eliezer Igra, the Dayan in Bet Adin HaRabani HaGadol, Rav Shmuel Eliyahu from Tzfat, Rav Yehuda Halevi Amichai from Machon HaTorah Ve'aretz. They may collect debts owed to me, and if the aforementioned rabbinical court does not collect it, I may collect it in any time that I wish. Taran. This is the point. If they don't collect the money, I, after Shemitah, of course, that it's supposed to be canceled, it's not canceled because it's by Beit Din, and debts owed to Beit Din are not canceled, so I can collect it. Let's skip the next paragraph to the end. Upon this, we affix our signature on this date. Elul something 578 all has been performed following the ordinance of Chazal. Sign this one witness, sign this one witness. Okay. The paragraph I skipped, I want it in a minute. Okay. We understood we should keep the mitzvah. We should do to do prosbul. But something is missing. Where's the neshama? Where's the soul of the mitzvah? We understood that Shmitat Ksafim today, okay. And we understood we want to keep the mitzvah, and we understood we have to do prosbul. But once we did prosbul, so it's a trick, and we're not really keeping the mitzvah, meaning technically we're keeping the mitzvah, but we want to help our people. We want the neshama, the soul of this mitzvah. Is there a way for us to do today some fragment of this mitzvah? Not only possible, and then that's it. We forgot. We signed, and that's it. So Rabbi Yonatan Eifshitz wrote, he says, listen, many people, the Rema says that Shemitah Ksafim doesn't apply today. Rabbi Yonatan Eifshitz said, why not? We want. It's a machloket. We want to be machmir. Rabbi Yonatan Eifshitz writes, ואם כן מאוד ראוי לכל איש להחמיר, לעשות על כל פנים, זכר למצווה זו בפרוזבול. You know what? Shmitat Ksafim is not, maybe it's not obligation, maybe the Rabbanan, maybe Minan. At least let's do a zecher. How will you do a zecher? We'll do a prosbul. So people will at least remember there's such a mitzvah. What a prosbul. You know, all the debts will not be canceled, but at least something. Leval yishakach zecher mitzvah zo. Be careful that we won't forget this mitzvah. ואם כן הוא מצווה זו, למה לא נדבק בה בתכלית הדבקות והסגרת? This mitzvah, once you understand the meaning, the rationale behind it, why don't we want to be stuck to it and to keep it with a dveikut and happiness and simcha? Even though the Rema says maybe it doesn't apply today. So Yonatan Eifshitz writes about prosbul. Is there a way, Babash, to keep the mitzvah of Shmitat Ksafim, even if we have prosbul? The Ben Ish Chai has something fabulous. והנה יש מתחסדים, אחר שכותבים הפרוזבול, some people are becoming חסידים, after they write פרוזבול, מלווה לחברו סך מה 10 גרוש או פחות או יותר, ועל זה הסך לא יכול הפרוזבול, כיוון שהלווהו אחר זמן הפרוזבול. Some people, after they write prosbul, they lend to their friend 10 grosh, I don't know, $1. And on this loan, the prosbul doesn't apply. Why not? Because we said, if you give a loan after the prosbul, after you write it, it doesn't apply. We said a regular loan is for 30 days. But if you say it's for less than 30 days, something else. Meaning, after you write prosbul, you give your friend a loan and you say this is for next week, meaning, or for Erev Rosh Hashanah, meaning the due date, the time that he has to pay is before Rosh Hashanah, and then Shmitat Ksafim apply, but because you gave it to him after you wrote the prosbul doesn't apply. So you're having one loan, symbolic loan, that Shmitat Ksafim will apply. ואז אחר ראש השנה, כשיביא לו חברו המאות לפורו, after ראש השנה, when his friend will give him the $1 back to pay him, יאמר לו משמט אני ולא יקבל ממנו. So he will tell him, no, משמט אני, I'm fulfilling the mitzvah of Shemitah, and he won't accept this money from him. ויוכל הלווה ולכד ישמח במאות אלו, the person that lent from you the money, he will use this money and enjoy. והמלווה, you that loan the money, you would be happy that the mitzvah of Shmitat Ksafim, I שקיר אותה בפועל, that you ממש fulfilled. ותהילות לאל יתברך, הנהגתי מצווה זו פה עירנו בגדד, אשריהם ישראל אוהבי מצוות השם ועושים אותה בשמחה, here in Baghdad, that's what I did, and people did it and they ממש fulfilled the mitzvah. Ben Ish Chai says, just women as well, if you lend from your friend 1 loaf of bread, Shemitah applies. So it's good that a woman would lend from her friend an Erev Rosh Hashanah, Kikar or Shtayim or Shalosh, that she will lend to her friend 1 or 2 or 3 loaves of bread. And after Rosh Hashanah, when she comes to pay, she will tell him, Meshamet ani v'areizo mekayem mitzvah, so the women keep mitzvah Shemitah. וכן עשו קצת נשים פה יראינו יכולני העליון אמן, כי דרשתי דבר זה בעזרת השם יתברך והרבים אשריהם ישראל, and that's what we did here, some minority of women did it here in Baghdad, because I talked about it in the Shiur, and he wrote about it in the book Ben Ish Chai, אשריהם ישראל. So we have here a way of keeping mamash the mitzvah of Shmitat Ksafim. There is another way. Another way is to give a loan before the prosbul, now even. But when you sign a prosbul, you can write specifically that this loan, what loan the possible doesn't apply to. Meaning, the possible applies to all the loans that people are supposed to pay me, but this specific loan I gave, the possible doesn't apply. If the possible doesn't apply for it, so when Shemitah comes, this loan is canceled, and that's how I can fulfill the mitzvah without waiting for the last minute and doing it with my friend. It's a much easier way. Our Institute Machon Torah ve'aretz, we launched a few months ago Project Nedivei Eretz, the Israeli Fund for Shmitat Ksafim, and we took this concept of the Ben Ish Chai and says, okay, we want to help people to write a posbul and to fulfill the mitzvah of Shmitat Ksafim. But let's not do it with lending my friend a loaf of bread. Let's lend it to poor people that really need the money. So this is the fourth Shemitah. In the past, we worked with Palmonim. This time we're working with Mekimi, which helps Jews to recover from debts and loans, etc. But it's not only giving them money, it's helping them, giving financial guide, helping them with banks, etc. And we tell people as follows: give a loan now to the Nedivei Eretz, meaning that will go to poor people. When you write a posbul, write on the posbul of Nedivei Eretz and say specifically that you are the posbul applies to everything besides one loan I gave to the Nedivei Eretz for such and such shekels, that Shmitat Ksafim would apply. Then I keep Shmitat Ksafim, and then this money would go mamash to poor people. So you lend through the Nedivei Eretz, you write a posbul of Nedivei Eretz or other posbul, but just you have to write specifically that this loan lo nishmetet, this one, and mekayim beidur mitzvat shmitat ksafim. Now what happens, because Mekimi is a big organization, and Bezrat Hashem we're hoping to have thousands of people through it, so we can come to poor people that have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and that Mekima is helping them already for months and years, and come to the banks and say, listen, they owe you 100,000 shekel, but they don't have the money, and really they owe you 50,000, but because of the rebate and the interest, etc., we'll give you now 50,000, and you, the bank, you give 50,000. And many times the banks or other people that owe, they owe the money, they say, you know what, it's better for me to get now 50,000 than maybe to get in the future. And many times 1 shekel that you give, so it can be 2 shekels, even 3 shekels, because many people say, you know what, give me a third and let's finish with it now. So every money you give is twice as much, or even more, 3 times as much. And that's what the Nedivei Eretz do. And let's go back to the posbul. So the posbul I'm reading here, this is to the exclusion of a loan of such and such shekels, which I have transferred before to the committee of Nedivei Eretz, whose due date will be the 29th of Elul 5782, Erev Rosh Hashanah 5783. With this loan, I would like to perform the mitzvah of loan remission, Shmitat Ksafim. Thus, I am not transferring this loan to the rabbinical court. And then this is what's done. This Shemitah, this is something new. And they had an interesting idea. They're doing it through give check. And you give them the loan, which will be a donation through Mekimi, through the Nedivei Eretz Mekimi, and you get a tax 46 that you can use for your taxes. And this Shemitah, they did something new. I don't know, who do I see here? Jacob's Golin lives in the Yerushalayim. And in his community, they know that there are 2-3 families that are really in bad shape. So they say, you know what? Let's do through the Nedivei Eretz. We will be an shagir, an ambassador. Give check, it's known. I take upon myself to raise the 50,000 shekel. through the Divrei Eretz, through this, I tell people, listen, give money through me. He speaks to the Divrei Eretz, to the people who charge in advance, telling them, listen, whoever goes through me, we have these 2 or 3 people, we want the money to go there. Of course, the Mekivi have to check them, Divrei Eretz have to check to make sure, they're suitable, halachically, etc. But once it's pretty easy. And once it's done, so you can have, I think not 100, but almost all of the money that you raised in your community, through this, going back to the families that you decided, the families in the community or poor people that you helped in the whole year, doesn't matter. And then it goes through the Divrei, goes through Mekivi, and it goes to the rabbinical court of Otzar Haaretz, meaning, people fulfill the Shmitat Ksafim, but you gave someone, it's not something big, or the whole country and the Divrei Eretz got 2 million. No, our community got such and such money for needed people that we know in our community, and that's something new. And Mamash, now they started, this postbook that was translated yesterday. It's not still on the website, the English website of the Divrei Eretz, but in a few days it will be. And I think this is an example of taking a mitzvah, going down to try to understand the meaning of the mitzvah, the rationale of the mitzvah, the neshama of the mitzvah, to understand that today we can't really fulfill it in the same way. So we need to go around it. We need to do postboard, but still to remember the basic concept, and at least to do something small, symbolic, that will be according to the neshama, I call it, to the ruach, to what's supposed to be this mitzvah, and without doing it too complicated for people, to do it as easy as possible. And that's a general thing that we at Machon Torah Ve'aretz believe in. The same with Bet HaOtzar, Trumot and Maasrot. How do you give Maaser Ani today in a Behuda way, without working, without going out and starting to look for poor people and for Levim? So we have Bet HaOtzar to help people. We have Shemitah, what we talked last week, that you have a lot of fruit in your garden. You want to give it to people, but halachically it's complicated. So you can sign and become a shliach beidin, and then you can take this fruit in your garden and to give it, distribute it, or put it outside to give it to other people. And we did it as well in the past with chasalat, that taking the the leafy vegetable that were problematic, and giving a practical solution for people. I think it's all things that our institute believes in. Understanding the understanding that our world is not the Torah's world. It's not the same. But yes, to take the concept as much as we can, go back to the original meaning of the Torah, with keeping mitzvot as much as we can, even today. Questions? If there are no questions, so I want to thank you very much, and have a good end of Shemitah year.
Thank you. Thank you. Toda.